Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of season 2 of the Daily Pill. I'm Claudio Allegri. I think you know that by now. And this podcast is sponsored by our parent company, Angel Home Care Services, an agency educating and providing caregiving services to members of the Dade County community and Monroe County, right here in South Florida. So today, I wanted to kind of do something a little bit different. You know, so often, I've said it before. I spend most of my time talking to families about issues that they're having, uh, about how to better care for their loved ones at home, primarily. And so over the years, I've collected all kinds of questions, and I actually have them documented. And those questions become the backbone of the type of content that we create to educate our community better. Um, and so what I wanted to do this week is I picked three questions that were which is actually the title of today's, what this not come from, which is the title of today's episode, is the three caregiving questions I got asked the most this week. So that's our title. And so let's just go and tackle these three questions. I think that if you're a caregiver, you're going to identify with at least two of the three, right? And so let's get to it. So the first one is, I'm looking at my notes. The first one is, now I got asked this question by a daughter who is already a client, and she called me for something else, and then she just asked me this question out of the blue, and I thought it was a pretty interesting question. And it is, how can I get my mom to understand that she can't do the things that she used to be able to do? And that's a very good question. And but first, let's just clarify, right? I know her case. Excuse me. Yeah, I know her case, but to clarify, we need to understand, first of all, if this is a patient that has Alzheimer's, or if this is a non-Alzheimer's patient, because then the answers would vary. In her case, and I'll give you both options, right? But in her case, her mom has pretty advanced Alzheimer's, and so the rule of thumb with someone who has Alzheimer is, for her, is meet her where she's at. All right, and that's a little bit of a trick, a mindset that you have to have when you're dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's patient. Meet them where they're at. In her case, she was used to hanging out with her friends every morning, at the local cafeteria, and just having her little cafecito, her coffee. And well, she hasn't been able to do that, for a while. But the brain doesn't recognize that. In her mind, she needs to go, right. And so the daughter is having a hard time, telling her, mom, you're sick, you can't go out, you can't do this, you can't do that, which is not the best approach. What I mean by meet her where she's at is, don't argue with her. All right. If she thinks that she needs to be somewhere at X time, just tell her, hey, your friend Kathy is running 20 minutes late anyway. Just hang out, and she's gonna call us and let us know that she's already there, so that when you get there, you don't have to wait for her, and save yourself a little time. Here, I made you some coffee. Have your coffee here with me. Let's have a chat. And kind of play these kinds of games, right? Talk about her friends, or give her just go with the flow. Don't correct her on, don't let her know that she's not doing this anymore because of whatever reasons, because that usually tends to exacerbate her anxiety. you know And so, maybe even her friends can come over and spend some time with her, which indirectly would give you a little bit of a respite and a chance to go out there and do your hair or something. But so so bottom line is meet her where she's at, and so that's in the case that she has dementia or Alzheimer's, right? Just go with the flow. In many ways, it's like don't argue with her. In many ways, it's like don't argue with a kid, and you don't try to reason with a kid either. You go with the flow, but with the elderly, it's a little bit different. At least with the child, you can try to teach them and reason with them, and it's a learning curve. With an Alzheimer's patient, you're trying to not exacerbate the situation, and she's gonna forget. She's gonna forget in a few minutes. It's the same technique that you try to use. If, for example, she wanted to just grab the keys and go driving, like in the early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, taking the keys away from a parent is one of the toughest things to do. And one technique that you can use is to, disconnect the battery. So that when they put the keys in the ignition, it doesn't work, but they don't know why. So then you can tell them, oh, look, I'll call the mechanic, come back in the house. And then, of course, you're going to forget about the whole thing in a few minutes, right? Maybe less. And so that just buys you a little time. So these are the little tricks that, that you could deploy. So if it's a non-Alzheimer's patient, it's just basically your mom or dad has always been type A personality, and they're now constrained about not getting their way. It's now more of a reasoning, more of a, mom, we don't want you to end up in a hospital with COVID. You need to chill out, let's just spend some time together. Let's just stay in the house. You're not, neither am I, by the way. We're not as young as we used to be. So we need to be careful. We need to adjust to our limitations right now without missing out on life. But we need to maintain our quality of life. We can afford to fall and break a hip. So it's a different conversation, So that's that question number one. How can I get my mom to understand that she can do the things she used to be able to do? You have to break that into two. Okay. So the second question I got asked this week that was pretty cool. Let me make sure that I'm on time. Oh yeah, I think I'm on time. I'm doing good time. My engineer is awesome, by the way, and she always tells me, how good my timing is. So, as a family caregiver, I don't have time to take care of myself. How do I find the time? I love this question because it goes to the heart of what we do sometimes, just help the families in addition to the patients. And as with all things, not enough time, right, related, the whole thing is you don't find time, you make time, all right? And you have to make time for yourself. And I know that's a little harsh, that may not be, but you have to. The last thing we want is for you to end up right next to your mom in a hospital, right? That doesn't help you, that doesn't help her, that doesn't help anybody. So there's a few little hacks that I'm gonna go through really quick here. But just to give you an idea, according to the Alzheimer's Association, in 2017, and that number is probably gone up, but in 2017, there were more than 1.1 billion hours, okay, of caregiving services provided by family. Okay, that averages more or less about 20 hours a week per average family. That's a lot of caregiving. That's more than a third of Alzheimer's and dementia caregivers, right, actually provided these 20 hours a week, and that's a big chunk of hours. That's on top of everything that you have to do in your life, And so a couple of hacks that you can start doing here is, get family and friends to start pitching in. You'd be surprised what people do if you ask them nicely, of course. You can even bribe them. Bribes work, okay? So don't be afraid of bribe people to give you a chance to come in and help you, so you have a chance to go out there, go to the gym, go see a movie, enjoy a latte at Starbucks with the wind in your face or something like that. Just change of scenery is what you need. And if you get enough friends and family to pitch in, and you can give them small little shifts that you can escape, for a little while and then come back, you'll be renewed, refreshed, and ready to, go back to caring for your mom or your dad or your spouse. It also help you, uh, it's a good attitude adjustment as well. When you change sceneries, your attitude changes. You feel better. Access local resources to help you. Okay, and a lot of people don't take advantage of the resources. Like, for example, if your mom or dad or spouse qualifies for adult daycare services, then that could give you a heck of a break. Because a few days a week they can be there, and you use that time for things that you need to do. And of course, also if you work, then these hours are usually day hours, like the 8 hours that they can actually be at this particular place where other people or professionals will be looking after them. Also, take a few minutes of the day while you're caregiving. Embrace the mini moments that you have to stretch, to do some yoga, to drink water. Last week, if you check out Tony Major's program, Sit to Get Fit. I mean, Sit to Get Fit is an ideal program for family caregivers that want to stay moving, and that need to keep moving. And then the last question is, what's the difference between the last question I got this week that I thought it was a pretty good one is, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Okay, and it's very common because even the healthcare, us in healthcare, we tend to use those alternatively, and then we confuse the heck out of everybody else. But it's important that you understand the difference. Alzheimer's, it's a progressive brain disease. Okay, and also the number one cause for cause of dementia. The cells in your brain are just dying. It's irreversible, and there's no known cure for it as of yet. Unfortunately, the terms, like I said, they're interchangeable, right? So everybody's confused. Dementia in itself is not an illness, right? It's a cluster of symptoms caused by a specific condition, and there are many things that could cause dementia. Many of them, by the way, reversible, right? They're transient, but the exception is obviously with Alzheimer's. The disease Alzheimer's causes will cause you to have dementia, right? So dementia, it's a symptom. It's not an illness. It's a symptom of an illness, and that's something that people sometimes don't have quite clear. They're using, which we would understand what it means, but it's always good to have it clear in your head. Okay, so those are the three questions. That's what I got for you today. How can I get my mom to understand that she can do the things she used to be able to do? As a family caregiver, I don't have time to take care of myself. So how do I find the time? And the third question is, hey man, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia anyway? By the way, that question was asked by the son of a patient. The second question, as a family caregiver, I don't have time to take care of myself. How do I find the time? That was actually asked by someone who was referred to us that we were having our first consulting call, and she was telling me how frustrated and how burnt out she was already feeling, and that's a very common story. It's a very common conversation that at first on impact, when I first meet somebody, because they either reached out to me or they were referred by somebody else, almost always that is an issue. Okay, I don't I don't have time for myself. I don't have time for anything. You know, it's a big deal, right? It's possibly uh, the number one family caregiver condition, right? Uh, that I encounter, and that I usually have to spend quite a bit of time talking to the family, if anything, just to talk them off the ledge, because they're really yeah. Yesterday I had a couple of calls like that. You know, the day before, similar call, and they are upset. You know, they're frustrated, they're burned out, they're mentally and physically fatigued, and they want answers. And more important than answers, they want solutions. You know, because I got answers, right? But my answers, uh, in our position, our answers need to be joined with an actual solution, right? Here's what you need to do now. You know, the answer for how you're feeling or what's going on is this, but here's what you need to do to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Or here's what you need to do. So that's kind of like what you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to, from time to time, each one of these answers will possibly be an article that I'm actually breaking down, and I'm going to publish, and then I'm going to put them on our blog, on our website, and then I'll put them back on our on at the Daily Pill, right, on Facebook. So you have access, you see like the transcript of everything that we talked about here, because each one of these questions is important enough to deserve its own article. And that's some of the things that I'm going to start doing it, and then syndicating that and putting that out there for people to consume, because, you know, it's better if they already know the answer before, you know, that if you can help somebody at scale, is always more efficient than on a one-to-one. I love one-on-ones, and there's no escaping that. But if I can take what I just did now and put it out there for other people to consume while they're having the issue, or before they have it, then, you know, that's a dream come true for someone like me, you know. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. I will see you next week again, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, right here. And then we're going to have another phenomenal show for you. And hope this helped. If you have any questions, just go ahead and, you know, just write it right below. And then I'll get to it. I'll get to it for sure. All right. Talk to you soon. Take care. Be safe.